What's up? Happy Friday. Good morning. Give me a second to get myself live on the gram. Coffee. Second coffee of the day. I'm going to also tell you all that I have unfortunately developed a little bit of a addiction to Ghost energy drinks suddenly. So I've increased my caffeine consumption from my normal 2 cups of coffee to 2 cups of coffee plus a Ghost energy drink. And I'm not sure exactly how I feel about that. It was the little bit of the slippery slope. I had one taste of a Ghost energy drink, and suddenly I was like, "Oh, this is perfect." And I'm just trying to get my computer to actually be connected to the. There we go. Here's the funny thing about it is, and let me just before I get into today's episode, I had my first Ghost energy drink about 3 weeks ago. It was a Saturday morning, and I was just feeling a little sluggish, and I stopped at the gas station to get an energy drink. And I'm like, oh, they have Ghost energy drinks. I'm going to try one. And I had it, and I'm like, I feel like $1,000,000. Like, my workout felt great. I felt so focused. I'm like, oh, Larry, oh, it's bad. It's bad. And I'm like, now I am like every single morning I have to have one. And I went so far as to like go online and see like how I can get the best pricing on them. And at Vitamin Shop, they were buy one, get one half off last week. So I bought 2 cases, and now I'm like, oh, it's just more motivation for me to stay consistent with my workouts, though. That's what I'm telling myself, because I'm having them as my little pre-workout treat. So, but yes, long story short, I actually was an energy drink addict years ago. I was on the Bang energy drinks for a long time. The cotton candy Bang was like my thing for a long time. And then I had a mindset coach that I was working with, and he's like, I think you have a bit of a caffeine addiction. So I switched from like my Americanos to decaf and took out my energy drinks. And now I do half calf coffee, and that's been my thing. So this is half calf. But this Ghost energy drink has now become a daily staple for me. So, anyways, all right, I'm looking. It looks like I'm having some issues on Facebook. So hopefully, I'm still going live on Instagram and on YouTube. So if I'm not, please let me know. Let me just double check. It looks like I'm live on Instagram. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So, guys, I really wanted to talk today a little bit about where we're at in the year. In fact, I could talk about it in 2 ways. We are coming up on that 6-month mark. So if you had like New Year's goals, you're kind of like in that place of like, oh, yep, this is what I always do, and here I am. Or it's also the time of year where maybe you're seeing yourself without as many clothes on, which if you're in the CrossFit gym, we see ourselves half naked most days. But maybe now is the time of the year where you're like, man, I've got these vacations planned, and I'm going to be on a beach, or I'm going to be at a barbecue. Or maybe you really like don't have a lot of, maybe you feel really good about your body, but you're also trying to enjoy, living those things. Maybe you have made a lot of progress, and we're in that season where you have a lot of thoughts about what's going on with your body, but also have a lot of thoughts about wanting to be able to enjoy your summer and wanting to be able to actually be present. And that's why I wanted to make sure that I'm giving you guys some direction today, because I know that it could feel like you're fighting a battle every single day, every single meal, every single weekend, every single Monday morning. You're wrestling with the thought of like, should I be like locking in for fat loss right now, or should I wait until after this season? So today, I just want to touch on a lot of things that might be coming up for you and hopefully give you some direction. So if you resonate with anything that I'm talking about today, or you have some other thoughts that I did not address today, shoot me a message. Let me know. I would love to be able to navigate, because also for some people, maybe the summer is pretty routine. My summer to my winter doesn't really change much, although I do need to take a vacation, and I am trying to plan a vacation. I've been looking at it. So if you have anything that doesn't come up for you, maybe this is just tips for living your best life year round. So this can also be relevant if you're somebody that has made a lot of progress, or maybe you're just somebody that always has inconsistencies in your life and you're having a really hard time getting yourself focused on things. I want to be able to give you guys some direction. And I see Vicky and Larry are going at it together about energy drinks. So I'm going to hop over to my notes though. If I miss anything that you guys say, I will take a look at it. All right. So let's talk about it. Let's talk first about the elephant in the room as I was sipping on my coffee, is that we don't really talk about the mental things that are like running through our brain on a daily basis. And it's really hard to face that stuff. But that's also why I want to normalize having these thoughts and feeling a little bit ashamed about them or not wanting to talk about them, but also wanting to be able to do something about it. And that's my goal. My goal isn't for you to like have this big confession of like, oh my God, she's speaking to me. It's, yeah, that's what I'm dealing with. And thank you for giving me some direction. Because at the end of the day, summer is supposed to be fun. Summer is supposed to be for a lot of you guys. Maybe you have kids, maybe you have vacations, maybe you just have more barbecues. The weather's nice. You want to be outside. You want to, hell, it's freaking hot out. Maybe you just want to be able to take your shirt off at the CrossFit gym and not feel guilty about it. You know, maybe there's a lot of stuff coming up and you may have spent multiple seasons where it's the same thing every single year. In fact, I can go back to being a teenager. Would you know that my entire childhood, every single summer was spent thinking about how I was going to fix myself for the next school year? Like every single summer was so traumatic for me because I would leave the end of the school year so happy to be done with school. And I would spend the entire summer thinking about how I was going to fix myself to come back to school better, to prove everybody wrong, to show everybody. That was my unfortunate summer memories. And that's not fun. I did take summer vacations and stuff like that, but that's probably the one thing that resonates with me the most. And hating to go back to school shopping. I hated it because every year I would think I was going to be in a better place, but I would hate the way clothes fit me. So, but summer's supposed to be fun. We're supposed to be able to enjoy ourselves. Yet a lot of you guys spend your summertime either in a place of, okay, yeah, you're enjoying your summer, but you're doing it at the at the expense of hating your body. So you're like, I'm eating whatever I want, but I'm sure as hell not feeling good about how I look. Or you're so worried about how you look that you're not truly enjoying the summer. So there's always some kind of a pull between one or the other. And my goal is that you learn how to do both. Okay. I think this comes down to a couple of things that I want to touch on. One is I'm in this place where there's too much going on for me to actually dial in my nutrition to be able to make progress, which usually stems from the fact that you're trying to be too extreme. Or the opposite is you're so locked in and ready to see changes that you tell yourself you're going to enjoy these situations, you'll enjoy your vacation, you'll enjoy these foods when you get to your goal. And neither of those are going to help you build anything sustainable. Surely you can take the summer off and eat whatever you want and then lock in the fall. But guess what's going to happen in the winter when Christmas comes around and it's another rough season? And then next summer, when another summer comes around, you're never learning the maintenance habits and strategies to allow you to feel comfortable eating and knowing how to hold yourself accountable without restriction. Like that's it. Like most people are like, I just don't have portion control. I don't have this. It's the stories they're telling themselves, or I can't eat these foods if I truly want to be able to get leaner, neither of which are the case. And what happens is summers pass by and you're either avoiding photos because you don't want to see yourself and you're enjoying whatever the hell you want to eat and drink and all that stuff. Or their summer passes by where you didn't enjoy anything because you were so worried about how you looked. Okay. So the first thing I want to start with is this. This is not the time, nor is any time a good time for drastic changes, but specifically in a season where you know there are a lot of inconsistencies. This isn't the time to all of a sudden tell yourself like you're starting like the no sugar thing, or I'm going to be obsessive about calories and macros, or I'm going to really lock in. Because the reason why most women and men do this is because they're in a place of panic. They're like, oh my God, I saw this photo and 4th of July is in 2 weeks and I'm going to be back on a boat and I need to get looking leaner by then. And the reality is you can't lose fat that quickly. You can lose weight, like you can lose water weight. So you let the scale might make you feel mentally a little bit better, but your body's not changing that quickly. All the drastic changes are only going to make it harder for you. And nobody's got time for that shit. So this is not the time to panic and try and like lock in. This is honestly the time to lean into sustainable change and recognize that fat loss can just become a byproduct of you learning how to navigate the summer in a way that is more in line with how you truly want to live your life. Like what level of structure and routine do you need? And what level of flexibility do you want to have? The extreme changes only really lead to short-term results. You can never maintain them. You keep cycling through the same thing. You spend your life always in a place where you're cutting or you're just maintaining. And that's not really sustainable. I mean, it is, but it's not a way to live your life and feel happy. You end up in this cycle, and guess what? People see it. Other people see your cycle. They can very much see you losing and gaining the same weight over and over again. They know what you're doing. And I'm not sure about you, but I know that makes me feel a certain way. I spent years of my life doing that, so I think it's really important to look at it like, okay, do I actually need a fat loss phase, or am I just needing to learn how to get myself more comfortable, finding a place where I can let fat loss be a byproduct of me making some specific changes to how I'm approaching it. And that's really truly how you build a sustainable plan. Now, obviously, when you're in a fat loss phase, you're probably going to have a little bit more structure. But summertime, if you have 5 million things going on, which is what I'm going to get into, is not the time to tell yourself that you're going to be rigidly hitting your calories and macros every week if you're not even sure what your next meal is going to look like, right? Like, that's not the kind of thing that you need to do, nor is it anything you need to do any time of year. Okay. So that's number one, is we don't need extreme changes. Number two is, and here's where we can kind of go into some strategies. All right. You need to start looking at your summer calendar, because it can be really overwhelming when you're like, summer's here and I have 4th of July and I have this and that. But when you actually take the time to look at how many days or how many meals you don't have real true control over, you might find that it's actually not that big of a deal. So let's just call summer starting May 31st, around Memorial Day. Let's call that the start of summer, even though it really wasn't. And let's just call Labor Day the end of summer, right? That's kind of what, September. So call it June, July, August. So 3 months, 12 weeks. Maybe you have a 2-week vacation planned in the middle of summer. I don't know. Maybe you're going to the Nashville, Tennessee, or whatever. Maybe you have a wedding. Maybe you have a birthday party. 3 things, right? So maybe the 2-week vacation is where you're not going to really have a lot of control over things, but the other things are really not that big of a deal. A wedding is a dinner and some appetizers and some drinks, right? One day. A birthday party is a piece of birthday cake. It's really not that big of a deal. It's really looking at how you're navigating all of the little things that come up, the barbecues and just the pool days and the boat days, and building strategies that are in line with how you want to be able to enjoy those things while still showing up for yourself. And this is where we can kind of go into sustainability, is also looking at the changes that you need to make to your lifestyle that have gotten you into the situation you're in. No awareness is not any way to make sustainable progress. Awareness does not mean restriction. It means I'm very aware of what I'm doing and how it fits into the overall plan. It's intentional. Okay. So not all events are going to matter equally, right? So like if you're boating every single Sunday, that's not really a special thing. You need a boating day strategy for your nutrition. That might include a couple of drinks and eating more snack style than meal style, right? But that could be a strategy that works with your goals. However, going to a getaway for 3 days and you're going to be on a remote island and it's an all-inclusive and this and that, that's probably not the weekend where you want to be thinking about tracking your food. It's like, I just want to be able to unplug and not think about it. Very different scenario. Okay. So I think it's looking at your calendar allows you to see which events you truly want the food and the drinks to be the priority, and the ones where like, you know what, they're just there and I can have them whenever I want. And that's always what I ask myself is like, is this situation going to pop up whenever I want it to? Do I really need to have this right now? A lot of times the answer is probably not right now. So I skip it. So that's number 2, is just kind of looking at your overall schedule. Number 3 is to stop thinking in terms of days and start thinking of accumulated weeks. So it's kind of like when you're trying to lose body fat, it's kind of like you're trying to save money, but in reverse. And I say in reverse because when you're trying to save money, you're like stockpiling money. And when you're trying to lose fat, you're like trying to slowly burn fat. So in essence, it's kind of the opposite, but it happens the same way because you're doing the same things in terms of like your action steps. So rather than thinking about, okay, I went over my calories, say I screwed up. I made a post about this the other day. Is the rolling calorie concept. Okay, so if it was Saturday and I had a wedding and I decided to have 2 drinks and a birthday cake, and I was over my calories by 600 calories, I could very easily for the next 5 days eat 100 calories less. So let's just say my deficit calories were 1900 and I was over on Saturday and I ate 2500. For the next 5 days, I could eat 1800 calories and change nothing else. And oh my gosh, I've just kept myself on track for my deficit. We have to start looking at the overall compounding weeks, not just the single days. And that's really what body composition changes are made. And that's why I always zoom out and not just look at the daily fluctuations on the scale. Okay. Because one meal, one day, or one weekend doesn't really change your body composition as much as your weekly averages do. So don't stress too much about it. You don't have to it's not even really about compensation or making up for it. It's more so about just troubleshooting, just like you would with your money. If you overspent, maybe you would not get Starbucks for the next 3 or 4 days, or not stop at Wawa's, or maybe you would not eat out. Maybe you had a really indulgent meal, we're going to not eat out this week. Whatever you would do to save money, it's kind of the same thing with calories. Okay. The next one, and why I think looking at the overall calendar is so important, is to stay present with your non-negotiables that can happen daily, whenever. It's like stacking all of the good days. That's actually 2 things I want to talk about. So the first one is staying present. So if we're staying present, what I'm looking at is, if you have the mindset, like a lot of women or men, it's okay, I keep screwing up. There's so many things coming up. And then what happens is those days that you have a little bit extra start to make you feel guilty. So you're like, why is every other day not worth it? Or why is every other day worth it? It's kind of like the analogy of you get a flat tire. So rather than fixing the tire, you go out and you slash the other 3. It doesn't make any sense. So you're better off just trying to stick to your routine around the other days and the other weeks. So if you have 2 weeks of vacation, the week before, the week after are probably going to be a little bit more dialed in. Maybe you aren't being as flexible as you would be on a regular basis, because you're going to have a really flexible week that week. So I think that that's really important. And now I'm going to go into the next one, is keeping your non-negotiables very simple. And this is where I will talk to my clients a lot about setting standards for themselves. In fact, I had a client who just recently started with me, and within 3 weeks of starting with me, she went on a vacation. And that's part of the plan. It's important for me to see how somebody reacts to vacations when they're not as much in control of their food. That's something that would cause somebody to maybe spiral in the past, or maybe that is something that holds them back from seeing progress, because they don't know how to go on a vacation and come back and get back to routine. But so it's important to keep some standards for yourself. And I call these your daily non-negotiables, and setting those for yourself. It might be as simple as, okay, no matter what I do throughout the day, throughout the week, I always make sure I'm getting protein at every meal, right? That might be something simple that you do. It might be, even if I can't work out, I always hit my steps. It might be, even though I might drink some alcohol, I'm going to make sure that I get plenty of drinks or plenty of fluids throughout the day. It's making sure that, if I've had a couple of bad nights of sleep because I stayed up too late, I'm going to make sure that overall the week I have at least 3 nights of good solid sleep. Whatever you can do to keep up. I'm going to make sure that I hit an upper body and a lower body day every single week. I'm going to hit at least 1 lower body lift and 1 upper body lift as a minimum. Whatever you can do to keep yourself going. That's really important. And not, especially if you're a CrossFitter, we get so hung up in following a program. Walking can be therapeutic and very good for just kind of keeping your body moving, right? Keeps you very metabolically active. So I think it's an underrated fat loss tool, especially if you do have fat loss goals and you want to be more flexible with your food, because walking actually burns a ton of calories for very low effort. So I think it can be something that you can use as a fat loss strategy. Okay. Next thing is, if you are somebody who in the summertime, you have less structure and routine because maybe your kids are home, maybe you're a teacher and you're not working right now, whatever, there's just less structure. Or maybe you are the mom that's now all of a sudden you're chauffeuring your kids to camp and the water parks and all that stuff. Most of the time the struggle isn't so much the schedule. It's when you are a little bit more relaxed, you don't spend as much time prioritizing the prep and having a plan because you feel like you have more time. I really encourage people to keep normalcy in their routine that they would have when they're normally working, because that allows you to keep structure and routine without also being restrictive. So yes, you might have more time on your hands, but you should still have a plan. And sometimes it's I have a backup plan. So maybe you plan to make lunch, but what's your plan B if all of a sudden the kids want to go to the pool, right? Let's have a plan B. Maybe it's grabbing some turkey and some crackers and some veggies, and you're having a little bento box at the poolside, so knowing that you need to have some kind of a plan, because I think a lot of the structure, or a lot of the problem also is a lot of lack of structure leads to a lot of mindless eating, boredom eating, just kind of random stuff, a lot of takeout, and just not really prioritizing the basics. Keep the basics, the non-negotiables that you would during the regular week routine. So this way you're staying structured. All right. Next one is going into like those, like the weekly stuff, right? Like the barbecues, the party, the social events. I think it's really important to understand that you might be that kind of a person who thinks that you have to like hit your calories and your macros, or you can't eat certain foods because they're not part of the plan. And whenever you have those things, it kind of makes you feel like guilty. Okay. So you need to recognize that keeping a food diary is probably one of the most important and impactful things you can do. Not so much even what you're doing in the party situations, but what you do on a daily basis, because it allows you to be more mindful at the party, whether you choose to track it or not. You start to build more awareness around what portions look like, and you can hold yourself accountable to those things without being restricted. So some things that I really like is to make sure that, don't be afraid to, if you're going to a barbecue and you don't know what's going to be served, to ask. And always asking, not in a way because you're on a diet, but in a way like, hey, like I'm coming by or I'm coming over and I want to be able to bring something. So what do you guys have already there? So I can I don't want to bring something that's already going to be there. And they might tell you, oh, we're having, wings and burgers and hot dogs. And I made a couple of, side dishes. We need this or that. And then you can like totally bring something that you would want to have, and also, that they can have as well. Obviously, normally it's going to be asked. I'm always going to be a proponent for bringing some more protein and produce. So maybe it is some kind of a protein dish. Maybe it is some kind of a salad, some fruit trays, things that are just easy for you to kind of have and know, okay, I know that I know what's in this and I can snack on this too. And when you get there, like, don't just start eating randomly. If you have goals for your body, it's about building awareness. It's okay. Survey what's there, see what you actually want to have, make yourself a plate. Don't just start grabbing things. It's not, I can't have anything. It's, I'm choosing these things and I want to have these things and enjoy these things. That allows you to have a little bit of both. You're not being restrictive, you're having some structure, but you're also not telling yourself you can't have something. Okay. So this is all kinds of the stuff that typically comes up for people, but I do want to know if there's other things coming up for you. And I think the main thing here is that when we're talking about your body, right? You're like, I really am unhappy with my body composition. I've been there. We've all been there. In fact, I'm going to be honest right now. I'm not super happy with my body composition. And it's not because I don't think I'm lean enough. It's because I actually want to get a little bit bigger. And I have my own insecurities right now about that. I'll save my sob story for the next episode. But I think that, because it's hard, I'm going to be honest, it's hard to build muscle. It really is. I feel like I work so effing hard, and I eat so much, but we'll talk about that in the next episode. Maybe I will break down my own little journey right now in my next episode, or maybe I'll just do a YouTube video on that, because I don't really do YouTube solo. Maybe I will just do a YouTube video. But what I was getting at is, I think that the important thing is to recognize that you don't have to be in a season of fat loss all the time to see fat loss. Yes, obviously, when you're in a season of fat loss, it feels really good and productive because you're able to control everything. But sometimes the cool thing is fat loss can happen while other things are going on. In fact, I have a client right now who's getting great success despite not really being like a perfect client, for lack of better terms. None of my clients I expect perfection, but she's had multiple weeks where she hasn't tracked a few days a week. She's had multiple, and those days are typically because she's had parties and celebrations, or just she's a nurse. No, sorry, she's a veterinarian, and where she just has been too busy and she just has eaten takeout or whatnot. And because she's built so much awareness, that I can trust that she's doing the right things, and her scale is showing that. So if anything, she might be under eating a little bit. So I think it's important to realize that you don't have to be so focused on fat loss if you're focusing on building the systems in place to where fat loss just becomes a byproduct of you changing the way you think and the way you act. And that's really what helps, is really building awareness around what's gotten you here, because what got you here is likely the fact that you probably only diet seasonally, right? It's like, I can lock in for fat loss, but I have no idea how to actually build a plan that's maintainable. Life hits and it's hard to stay consistent. So maintenance is a skill, and it's something that I know that for me it's why I struggled for so long, not just with disordered eating, but also with like confidence in myself, why I kept losing and gaining the same weight, because I didn't ever truly feel confident knowing how to find the balance between the two. And that's one of the main reasons why my main message is you got to learn how to live lean. Yes, we got to get you there first, but getting there first usually means dealing with a lot of this uncomfortable stuff. And a lot of times it's teaching my clients to be patient with themselves, to allow themselves to enjoy things. You know, we definitely want to make sure that the life that you're building for yourself in fat loss is the one you want to live beyond it. And don't get me wrong, fat loss does require you to be a little bit hungry, but it should not come at the expense of your physical, mental, and emotional well-being, which means you should be able to be present with your family at vacations, social gatherings, and all of that stuff. So some things that I wrote down here: if my body looked exactly the same on Labor Day, but I spent the entire summer fully present, making memories, enjoying experiences, feeling more at peace around food, would that actually be a failure? And I say that because a lot of people only see success as, okay, I started this program and I lost weight. But what if the success was really in, wow, for once, I like actually enjoyed my summer and weight loss was a side effect, and I didn't even feel like I was dieting. Okay, because for most people, the answer to that question would be no. But the only thing that you're seeing progress as right now is the scale going down. So just want to kind of put that out there for y'all that might be struggling a little bit with knowing when is it the right time to start something, because it might not be the right time to start something extreme. It's never that time. It's always the right time to start saying, these are the things that are not serving me anymore. And one of those things might be the belief that you have to have a fresh start to make progress, because fresh starts don't happen, especially the older you get. Your body keeps a score, and your body has adapted and will continue to learn from all of the things you do. And you stay stuck in the cycle, your body knows the cycle. And it's why every time you start it again, it feels that much harder and it's that much less effective. So that's what I got today. I'm going to hop over here to look at some of the comments here and see. Amanda hops in talking a little bit about, oh, I've also tried the C4. I'm going to be honest, the Ghost, guys, if you are not on the Ghost train, like, you should try the Ghost. The Ghost products in general are pretty good. I don't use their protein powder, but I've had their protein powder. It's pretty good. I've never been on a cruise, but I hear that drinking and eating is typically increased. Oh, yes. The drinking and eating on it, because everything is like inclusive. You can pretty much eat as much as you want whenever you want. I think that's probably like the fun part of cruises for a lot of people. Does anybody have any other questions? If anybody is still watching. Summer struggles. Anybody have any fun summer trips? Yeah, the Ghost protein powder, they have some good ones. The Nutter Butter I've tried. The Chips Ahoy. As you can tell, I'm a cookie girl. I love my cookies. In fact, I think I'm going to make some cookies today. Although I was very disappointed the other day. I was having a cookie craving, and I have those like break and bake Pillsbury cookies. So I was like, oh, I'll just pop 2 of those in the oven. And when they got done baking, I was so disappointed at how small they were. I was like, this is so small. Oh, my summer struggle is birthdays each week for 4 weeks. Amanda, so I'm not sure how long you've been on for, but I did talk about this. So listen, here's the cool thing about birthday parties. And if you want to message me when you get off of here, please do. Is a birthday party is really very easy to navigate in that it's really one meal out of an entire week, right? So it's like knowing that that one meal isn't really that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things, but how you think about that meal is a bigger deal, because if you think about that meal in one of 2 ways, either it's the only meal you allow yourself to enjoy anything at, so you eat too much, or because that meal was indulgent, you feel like you can't make any progress, so you don't put the work in on the other days. That's going to keep you stuck. But if you're just looking at that one birthday party, that's the whole point of this episode is you should not be struggling. In fact, when a client tells me that my struggle was I had a birthday party this weekend, I'm like, no, dude, that was not a struggle. That was you living your life. We should not be struggling at birthday parties. We should be enjoying birthday parties. We should be enjoying being around. Now, am I saying that if you're going to your kids', best friend's Chuck E. Cheese birthday party that you need to be indulgent there? No, I probably would bring my own food. I don't need to eat Chuck E. Cheese pizza and have the Walmart cupcakes, right? Like, I can say no and be confident in that. But if it's my kid's 16th birthday or my kid's first birthday, you better believe I'm having some fucking birthday cake with my kid. I don't have kids. I got a cat. I celebrate my cat's birthday with him. You guys want to hear something funny about my cat? My cat is so effing smart. I have a drawer and there's not even handles in the drawers. Like I don't have handles in my drawers. They just are the kind that you just open up. And his treats were in the drawers. And this is the third time this has happened where I have caught him opening the drawer because he knows the treats are in there to try and get the treats. 2 times already, I have found him. He's gotten the treats out and somehow gotten the bag, like ripped it open with his teeth and his nails to eat all the treats. And I caught him this week before he got into them. I had to move them from that drawer to the pantry where there's a door because he was getting in there. He's so fucking smart. He knows, my cat knows. So he's got an automatic cat feeder. It just actually went off. It goes off at 7 a.m., 11, 3, and 7, I think, or something like that. I have it 4 times a day. So it goes off at the same time every day. But every single morning when I wake up, my routine is I'll hit my coffee pot and then I'll fill it up for the day and then I put it down. And this way, I did that because when I first got him, he would just meow by my feet until I fed him. And now I'm like, nope, I'm not having this cat trained to tell me when he's going to eat. I'm going to let him know it's time to eat. So now he knows his meal times and he's very conditioned to know his meal times. He waits for that stupid thing every single day, like clockwork around the same time. But here's what's funny about this is he also knows if I forgot to put the food in there. So like every once in a while, I'll just be spacing in the morning and I'll just completely just start doing my routine and forget to put the food in. And if I forget by like 6:15 a.m., he starts meowing, meow, meow, meow. Mom, there's no food in there. It's not going to go off. So just a little something to share with y'all. But little cat talk before I close up shop. Does anybody have any other questions or anything? Anything else going on? All right, then I'm going to hop off. If you guys do have any struggles or anything like that that you would like to discuss in terms of summer, in terms of approaching your own journey, in terms of where to start, always hit me up with a DM. My DMs are always open. I do love just connecting. This is not like a pressure for you to sign up for coaching if it's the right fit. Obviously, you can always join on my program. I'm always looking to connect with more women, especially if you do CrossFit. But even if you don't do CrossFit, I still love you. Just want to see people be fit and healthy as they age. So hit me a message and I will talk to y'all soon. Have a good weekend.